Can you keep guppies in an outdoor pond? If you had a fish or aquariums for any amount of time, the idea of having an outdoor pond has crossed your mind. Then what type of fish is best to keep in an outdoor pond? May I suggest starting with guppies? They're a great starter fish for a pond. I like suggesting starting with guppies for your first outdoor pond because they're extremely hardy fish that you can find in any pet store at a cheap price. This makes it great because if you make any mistakes, you can replace them easily, and your mistake did not cost you very much. I also love that having guppies in a pond because there's so many different types and colors. You can have a super unique pond on a budget. Unlike if you had a koi or goldfish pond, where depending on the type can be extremely expensive. The idea of having another location where you can keep fish is super exciting. My wife is awesome and lets me have lots of fish tanks in our house. But we have hit the limit of how many I can fit in our house, so expanding outside is a great option. I'll only be talking about small ponds that will fit in most people's backyard. I'm not talking about large ponds that take up more area than a small pool. Large ponds have a different requirements and care than small ponds do, so I'll focus on small ponds to provide a more relevant information. Do you need to feed guppies in a pond? Yes. Please feed your guppies in your pond. They need it. Just because they aren't outside doesn't mean they magically have access to food. In the wild, they can get plenty of food because there are bugs and other organisms they can feed on. But in your backyard, there are way fewer bugs and creatures they can eat. So feed your guppies. They'll be happier, prettier, and have more babies if you feed them. Are water changes necessary in a pond? Yes, you do need to do water changes in your guppy pond. Just like your aquarium, you'll need to do some sort of water change. Most residential ponds are a closed system, so the water is just recycled and moved inside the pond using a pump or an air pump. A water pump or air pump. Doing water changes has several benefits. First is that it'll keep your water clearer. Fungus and algae that lives in your water feeds off of the waste of your guppies and other fish producing in your pond. Having ammonia, nitrates, and nitrates in your water is one of your biggest fish killers. These are all caused by poop, decaying matter, and uneaten food in your pond. Luckily, high ammonia and nitrates is really easy to fix or treat. The quickest way to fix it is by doing a water change. I would take about 25 to 50% at a time and do at least a few times a month, a week or two apart. One thing that will make it so the ammonia, nitrates, and nitrates build up slower is to get your pond cycled. Cycling a tank or a pond is that you get beneficial bacteria established in the tank that breaks down ammonia to nitrates and then to nitrites. The cycle turns ammonia, which is most harmful to your guppies, into nitrites, less harmful to the least harmful nitrates. When this cycle is established, you can go a little longer between your water changes. Just like how chlorine is harmful to humans, it is also harmful for your fish. So if there's chlorine or other chemicals used to treat your water, I would suggest using a dechlorinator to treat your tap water or water from your house. If you don't like using dechlorinators on your water, you can also let your water cure by letting it sit for 24 to 48 hours with some water movement to get the chlorine to evaporate out of your water. One large benefit of doing water changes on your pond is that you can use it to water your plants or grass because the waste of the fish put off fertilizes your plants and grass at the same time, so win-win. Will guppies survive winter in a pond? It greatly depends on how cold your winter gets. Winter in California or Florida are completely different from Utah or Minnesota. Guppies can't survive in cold water. Guppies are a tropical fish. They like water between about 72 to 80 degrees. They prefer 75 or above and can tolerate dips into the 60s, but long prolonged time periods of 60s will affect the health of your guppies. So in the spring and fall, I'd keep an eye on the weather. Wait to put your guppies out in your pond until you have a few weeks of above 60-degree weather, and bring your guppies in to a heated tank in the fall when the weather dips into the low 60s on a consistent basis. How hot is too hot for your guppies? Even though guppies are a tropical fish, they do have a limit of how hot they can handle. Guppies can live in water in the low 80s, but they can handle brief peaks above 90-degree temperature. This is why I would suggest that you keep your pond out of direct sunlight so it doesn't overheat. One great idea for an outdoor pond is a flower pot pond. One idea that my family tried out this year that was fun was doing a flower pot pond. It's where you take a large flower pot or a planter and turn it into a pond. It's fun because they fit almost anywhere and are really cheap to make. All you really need is pot, fish, and water. I would suggest adding plants like water lilies or lily pads to give that pond feel. Adding rocks or small pebbles will make it look like it's more natural. There are many ways you could aquascape it, and because it's small, it's much more affordable. All in all, having a guppy pond in your yard, balcony, or porch is an excellent idea. Just make sure to care for them like you would a fish tank, and watch the temperature during the spring and fall. Have fun adding your guppies and watching them grow and flourish.